I did a couple episodes of Cops, the TV show, or I
Right.
did sound on it, and they said perpetrators swear and cops don't swear. That was the only direction I got. So the cops, I was covering over them swearing with the sound of dogs barking and cars squealing and helicopters and stuff. And just the perpetrator would come out and they'd be putting cuffs on it, and they're like, "Why don't you put some beeps in there?" I said, "He's not swearing." He says, "Yeah, but they need to be swearing. So just beep, beep, beep." Yeah, I
Nice.
that was
Got,
an interesting gig. Yeah.
gotta love the movies.
Meet the Pressers with Matt Mallory and Klint Necro. Brought to you by Public Safety and Education and the Trigger Pressers Union.
Meet the Pressers is brought to you by Mantis. Mantis X helps shooters suck less. Next Level Training, makers of CERT training products. Henry Repeating Arms, made in America or not made at all. XS Sights, fast sights in any light. Meet the Pressers is also brought to you by these fine companies, shows, organizations, and our Patreon members. Thank you.
Hey everybody, this is Meet the Pressers. I'm Matt Mallory, and this is the awesome Klint Macro right here. We've got some great guests that Klint's going to introduce here in a second, but just a little bit about our show. This is a place where we press triggers. We talk about politics, political activism, religion, anything and everything, gear, gadgets, all that fun stuff, training, you know it. So Klint, take it away. Tell them about our awesome guests.
Yeah, I'm very honored to have these guys on here. They're part of an organization called Project Appleseed. Actually, that's the program that's run by the Revolutionary War Veterans Association. And it's Tom Kehoe, and his forum name is Malabar, and Jeff Yeager, and his forum name is Cleveland. Those of you that are in the Project Appleseed world will know what I mean by forum names. But all the instructors are all together on a forum, and we all have these forum names that we go by. I happen to be Glock 1911. But enough about me. Tom, Jeff, thank you for coming on the show. It's great to have you guys on here.
Oh, thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, so the program's been around for a little while. We're actually celebrating an anniversary this year. Would any of you guys like to talk about that and maybe a little bit of the history behind the program?
Sure. The program is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year, and the program has come a long way in those 20 years. It started out of a series of columns that our founder, who goes by Fred, he was writing them for Shotgun News, and they were part calls to liberty and part promotions for his business where he sold M14 stocks and accessories. And in the course of doing these columns and selling these accessories, he came to realize there was a demand for quality marksmanship instruction. And so he started doing Garand rifle instruction at his home range in North Carolina, in Ramsey, North Carolina. And that was the origin of Project Appleseed. It was so popular that he decided to start taking it on the road. And then the next thing was he didn't have enough hours in the day to make all the shoots. So he started minting other instructors, and Project Appleseed was born.
Yeah, it's a great program. I do a lot of instructor development, and I'll tell a lot of my instructor candidates, whether teaching rifle or pistols or whatever, you really should go experience a Project Appleseed range, because the way it's run is very regimented, but done very, very well. And the way marksmanship skills are taught in that class, I think, is the best 2 days of training you could get for $60 anywhere on the earth.
I have credentials from a number of national organizations for rifle instruction, pistol instruction, defensive pistol instruction, defensive shotgun, all that kind of stuff. So I've seen quite a few programs. And Project Appleseed, without doubt, is the finest program of field riflery instruction that you can get in the United States. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is they've continually refined the program over the past 20 years. We've had some extraordinary volunteers who have analyzed what we're doing and looked at the best ways of teaching particular concepts and they keep refining it. I think we're on volume 12 or edition 12 of our instructor manual. It gets completely redone every couple of years. And so over the years, we've distilled that instruction down to just the things that work and teach it in a particular way that seems to be the most effective. But the other thing that makes it a particularly effective program is that unlike pretty much any other certification that you get anywhere else in the country, Project Appleseed, becoming an instructor is a journey. To get into the program, to become what we call an orange hat or an instructor in training, you have to have attended at least 2 of our weekend-long shoots, and you have to prove that you can shoot an expert score on our qualification test repeatedly. That's 210 out of 250 from standing, seated, and prone. Once you can show that you have those requisite skills, then you can enter our instruction program if we deem that you have the right personality for it. And it takes it takes a minimum of about 160 hours of hands-on training to actually get that coveted red hat that says I'm a full instructor in Project Appleseed. There's no other group that has those kinds of stringent requirements. But what we want to do for folks is give them the McDonald's experience. You go to an Appleseed in Alaska, and it's taught the same way as an Appleseed down here in Florida. The instructors use the same techniques, we use the same words. There's things that we have to say 100% by rote so that we're being the most effective instructors we can.
Yeah, I have to say,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I was just gonna say, I have to say that I took the class probably, I want to say probably 15 years ago, maybe 12 or 13. If I don't know exact. I was trying to find out the date, and I wasn't able to find that out. But I was with the Civil Air Patrol squadron commander, and brought some other cadets, and we did it quite a ways from here. And I got just the history lesson in there, just the reminder was just phenomenal. That really, I mean, being an Army vet, disabled Army vet myself, current law enforcement officer, that kind of stuff. Just hearing the national anthem makes me, tingle. So sitting in on that was pretty awesome. So I got to say, keep that up.
Our history is what sets us apart from other instruction programs around the country. We focus on the events of April 19th, 1775, the day that marksmanship met history and heritage began.
Absolutely. I'll give you a fond huzzah with that one. Yeah, that's what really originally brought me to it. I mean, not that I was arrogant, but I like you, Tom, I have a lot of credentials from a lot of different organizations, and as an active trainer, running ranges was something that was not foreign to me. So I had heard about the instruction, but that was a secondary thing. I was really interested in the history lessons. That's what really drew me to it. And to see EZ3, which was my shoot boss out here in PA before to watch him tell the 3 strikes, and to see the tears in his eyes and the passion behind the story, and learning about these people, not just names in a history book, but learning the stories about the families and what they went through in those days, and how they sacrificed everything so that we have what we have today. That was just a earth-changing moment for me. And I see that happen a lot of times with the students that take part in the program. It's a real awakening.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the real goal of the program. The marksmanship is kind of a hook that we use to get people to come out to our shoots. But what we really want to do is inspire them with this extraordinary story of how this country was founded, and by the incredible sacrifices that folks were willing to make to win liberty for their communities and their country. It's something that unfortunately is not really taught in schools anymore. And it's a heritage that really joins us all together as Americans. And unfortunately, I think that's a message that we really need to hear today. So I think it's more relevant than ever. But that's really what we want. We want you to come to an Appleseed. We want you to learn about liberty. And then we want you to go out and be better citizens, get active in your community, take leadership roles, teach young people real values. And we're not political at all. We don't care if you're on the left or the right. We don't care if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. We think the things that unite us as Americans are more important and more powerful than the things that can divide us into tribes. And we're really in need of that unity today.
Yeah, I recently wrote an article, a blog piece, got into the weeds on there are many among them that know well what they are about. And I kind of analyzed that statement and the context behind where it came from. And the blog piece really questioned, do you know well what you're about? You know, if you had to make decisions like that now, would you, for the sake of liberty and for the liberty of your children and your family? And will you take the steps to avoid having to do that by just being active civically? You know, the founding fathers gave us so many options that we can visit. Matt talks about all the time, the different boxes that we can visit without having to go to the cartridge box. And I think, you know, tyrants just kind of figure we're going to not do any of that if they keep us dumb and fat. And, you know, so it really posed the question, do you know well what you're about? And I got a lot of comments on that. But the history is what brought me to it. Cleveland, how long have you been doing this with Project Appleseed?
I've been with the program about 15 years. Started as a shooter and then, you know, just worked my way slowly up through the program. And just, you know, it's a program I really believe in. You know, you look at the sacrifice our founding fathers made for our freedom and liberties that we have today. It's really causes you to pause and think, you know, what would you do in those situations? And it's something I feel I can give back to the country.
So with your accent, I dare say you're not from Cleveland, or would that be a mistake of mine?
I live in Cleveland, Tennessee. I'm from Michigan originally.
Oh, okay. Not Cleveland, Ohio. That's a
No, not
different
Cleveland,
accent.
Ohio. That's one of those cities you go through to get to my Cleveland.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Malabar, Tom, you recently kind of took over a little bit as head honcho. I guess that's fair to say. Would that be fair to say?
Well, I've been chairman of the board of directors of Project Appleseed for about the last 10 years.
Okay.
And during that time, we've changed a whole lot of things in the program. We've changed the culture of it. If you went to one of our shoots 15 years ago, we talk about those being the hairy-legged men days, when most of our shooters were old veterans of Vietnam and later wars. And they were shooting Grand rifles and M14s and other 30 caliber goodness. And the instructors would walk up and down the line and kind of yell at them, get that leg up there, and kick them in the leg. And the problem is we're not going to reach our goals that way. Our goal is to return America to a nation of riflemen. And our goal is to return America to be a nation of people who love liberty, who understand it, and who are willing to sacrifice to maintain it. And so we reach out to a much wider audience these days. You're as likely to run into a soccer mom or a 12-year-old girl in yoga pants on one of our lines as you are one of those old guys with a 30 caliber rifle. And that's intentional. If we just reach out to the folks who are most amenable to our message, we're never going to reach that wider group of Americans. And we believe all Americans should be able to share in that heritage of being an armed nation and a liberty-loving nation.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Makes us the melting pot, right? Everybody, different ideas, different views. Yeah, you had mentioned that it's evolved. I think you said 12 different iterations, if you will, over the years. I would imagine some of those tweaks and changes have brought about the different types of students that you have now compared to maybe in the beginning. Was that maybe some of the focus over the years to get different types of students and different types of people that you hadn't had in the past as a marketing aspect? But then, because you've stayed the same with the history hasn't changed, obviously. So
Right.
That's a different program with another organization.
yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot of trail life groups,
Yeah.
for example,
Mhm.
Boy Scouts, a lot of families with young kids. You know, we'll get fathers and daughters, fathers and sons, mothers and sons. It's just a melting pot of, you know, what you see across America. We'll get people show up on the line that, you know, they've been shooting all their lives, been around rifles all their lives. And we'll get people that, you know, they've got a scope in a box and a brand new 10/22 in a box, and we're out there trying to get it all mounted up and ready for them so they can enjoy their weekend of learning the history and the marksmanship.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's rewarding, man. We had a family. It was a mom, a dad, and two kids, a boy and a girl, and they they pretty much came there. They had mounted their scope already, but the price tag was still hanging off the
Right.
trigger guard, you know. So
Right.
it was all pretty new. And by the end of the day, too, they all made riflemen. And
Oh,
actually,
wow.
one of the kids cleared a red coat, and they were so
That's
proud,
amazing.
and they did it as a family, and that was such an honor to be part of.
That's awesome. Yeah, building, families, that's so awesome. We've refined our instruction now where we teach them just what they need to know when they need to know it. Back in the old days, it's kind of that drinking from a fire hose kind of instruction where you just practice bad habits, and now they never get a chance to practice failure. We teach them just what they need to know in a very step-by-step incremental way. And we find that our shooters have a lot of success on our line reaching that expert score.
So I got to ask, do you guys know what your high scores are?
Uh, KD or pistol or 25 meters?
25 meters. We'll stick there.
238.
238. All right, that's not bad. What was the rifle?
50 out of 50 KD.
No, I'm sorry. What rifle were you using?
Oh, just a 1022.
Okay. So, Tom, what's yours? You recall?
I think the highest I've shot is a 240, and
Nice.
that was with an out-of-the-box Ruger 1022 at 25 meters, but it did have a scope on it. My eyes are getting a little old for shooting iron sights.
I appreciate that. I recently had LASIK done. Prior to that, I had Coke bottles on my face, and it was a different thing. I looked mine up. I had a 235 with an M&P 1522 years ago when we were before that whole thing with that gun happened, and I got a 228 with a bolt gun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
I was real proud of that one.
Those are fine scores.
Yeah, I was pleased with it. I haven't qualled actually this year, so that's something I need to go out and do locally. Even if we don't get a chance to do it on the range, obviously if we got a big line and we can't drop down and shoot a AQT, a lot of times the instructors will all get together and we'll kind of run each other through it and do kind of like a qual day. And so I haven't done one this year, but I need to get Matt out there on a mat.
Yeah, Matt on
Yeah.
a mat.
Yeah, Matt on a mat.
That's the bad part about becoming an instructor is you don't get to shoot as much as you did when you were a student.
Yeah, occasionally, especially here we would do them in March and up until November and stuff. So occasionally we get a cold day and we'd maybe get 4 or 5 people show up. So there'd be space on the line. We could take turns running the line and
Right.
someone could jump down and get some shooting. Funny thing you said about the old hairy-legged guys. They have a hard time getting out of position. Those younger kids, they can transition pretty well as long as they're watching their muzzle.
That's one of the things that really is unusual about our course of fire is you don't just have to be able to shoot well. Have to be able to handle your rifle very well indeed, because it's timed and you're getting into position under time restraint. You're changing magazines. And in some of those courses of fire, you have to get a new natural point of aim 3 or 4 times. And so it's not just, yes, I can align my sights, I get them on the target. I've got to know that rifle. It's got to be an extension of which is why the high score with the bolt gun is very, very impressive, because you're constantly moving that bolt to try and make score into that deadline pressure.
Yeah, Chuck McKinley is one of the shoot bosses here, and he's one of the best shooters with a bolt gun I've ever seen. And he has this little kind of rocking technique he taught me, and it worked very, very well.
Break down the process if somebody was going to go to an Appleseed. What could they expect for the 2 days in a elevator speech, if you will?
We start out with some history, the first strike of the match, we call it, where we start talking about the events of April 19th, 1775. And then we shoot the red coat target, which is a hits count target, which simply gives us the ability just to give them an idea of where they're at before they have any formal instruction. And then we start with a safety brief, or actually before the red coat, we have the safety brief. Then we shoot the red coat. Then we start the formal instruction. We start with sling use. We use the USGI cotton sling. And then we go through the steps of firing a shot, steady hold factors, do a lot of dry practice. In our new course of fire, we do a lot of dry fire, dry practice, let them practice getting their natural point of aim, shifting between targets. And then we teach them how to properly press the trigger, squeeze the trigger, we call it an Appleseed. Then we go through a lot of dry fire with that. And then we finally let them start firing. We find that on that first string of fire, after all that instruction, most of our shooters are between 6 and 8 MOA or better with their first string of fire after the instruction.
The red coat, man. It took me years to clear a red coat. I don't know what it is about the red coat, and the red coat's not even really timed. It's just like and it's not always the little square that I've missed. It's just like one little flinger. I'm like, son of a gun.
Yeah.
It was the scariness of the redcoats are coming. The redcoats are coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Must have been that. So maybe as we start to wind things down, have you guys been up to Battle Road? Did you get your Battle Road patch and tour that area?
No.
Oh, it's a wonderful thing. Actually, there's a cemetery in Cambridge, and it seems like things are so far apart when you look at a map, but they're very close by modern standards. Driving around in a car, and I was able to see Samuel Whittemore's grave.
Oh, wow.
It's a little hard to read, but to see to see the grave sites of those folks and actually walk the ground and to see how close some things were and actually how far apart other things were is pretty amazing. But one thing I'd like to share with you guys, if you'd let me, a lot of people over time, I think a lot of folks kind of get away from the intended message of the people that were there on the dirt that day. There is a memorial in Lexington Green. That memorial was dedicated by people who were there on the day. Sacred to liberty and the rights of mankind, exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. The freedom and independence of America sealed and defended with the blood of her sons. This monument is erected by the inhabitants of Lexington under the patronage and the expense of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to the memory of their fellow citizens, Ensign Robert Monroe, Jonas Parker, Samuel Hadley, Jonathan Harrington, Isaac Muzzy, Caleb Harrington, and John Brown of Lexington, and Asher Porter of Woburn, who fell in this field, the first victims of the sword of British tyranny and oppression, on the morning of the ever-memorable 19th of April, Anno Domini 1775. The die was cast, the blood of these martyrs, in the cause of God and country, was the cement of this union of these states. Then colonies gave the spring to the spirit. Firmness and resolution of their fellow citizens, they rose as one man and to revenge their brethren's blood and at the point of the sword, to assert and defend their native rights. They nobly dared to be free. The contest was long, bloody, and affecting. Righteous heaven approved their solemn appeal. Victory crowned their arms, and the peace and liberty of the independence of the United States of America was their glorious reward. This was built and inscribed in 1799.
Wow.
People that were there and dedicated were there that day. And if there's any question about the intent and the passion behind what was the American Revolution, then it's right there. It's written in black and white. We just have to go look at those old monuments and read them.
It's an extraordinary thing, and it's something I almost always point out to our shooters at one of our shoots. On that day, more than 10,000 soon-to-be Americans ran out of their houses in the middle of the night with rifles in hand and tomahawks and knives to confront what was at the time the greatest fighting force the world had ever known. They did it knowing that defying the king was treason, that they could all be summarily hanged. They knew that there were bayonets with their names on them. They knew that if they died, their families wouldn't have others to fall back on, that if they died, their families would die. And they didn't hesitate. They didn't hesitate to run out of their homes and fight for liberty. They didn't hesitate to stand up for their neighbors. And I say to people, 10,000 colonists came out. Only about 3,000 fought, but 10,000 turned out. If there was an invasion in your neighborhood today, how many of your neighbors could you get to stand with you?
Yeah.
And it's a grim thought.
Yeah.
It's scary how complacent and how detached we are from that these days, for sure. Everything's delayed gratification is no longer a thing, and people are too.
But I will say to that statement, Matt, one of the things I try to find lemonade out of the lemons. And I think we've seen a great deal of our fellow Americans over the last couple of years of government overreach, especially during that whole COVID thing, where people kind of went, wait a minute,
Right.
This ain't right. And I've seen a lot more people in classes, folks that were anti-gun before that are now deciding to exercise their Second Amendment rights because they see the need to protect themselves, not just from criminals, but as a deterrence against a would-be tyrannical government.
Yep.
So I'm seeing things change a little bit, and a lot of it has to do with the work that you guys did with Project Appleseed. And I want to thank you guys for the work that you put behind it.
Sure.
As any volunteer, I would love to be more involved, and maybe as I get older, those opportunities will materialize. But I urge any of the listeners, and I know a lot of our listeners are instructors, you need to go out and shoot one of these Project Appleseeds, enjoy it as a student, and if you think it's as cool as I do, get involved, volunteer, and give to it what you can, because it is helping our country be a better place.
Before we sign off, if you don't mind, I'd like to make a plug for our newest program.
Sure.
About 4 years ago, we started up a pistol program. And we started up a pistol program specifically because so many new shooters were going out and buying pistols and had absolutely no training with them. And we saw an opportunity, again, to get folks to our line and to be able to talk to them and talk about liberty and what it means to be an American and what their heritage is. And one of the reasons we embrace this is because all over the Northeast, you can't find ranges to even do a 25-meter event. And yet there's indoor ranges where you can set up a 7-yard line and teach a pistol program. So that's our latest offering is a pistol program that teaches the fundamentals that you need to eventually take a defensive pistol class.
Very nice.
It's been very well received. I taught one of those events about 2 weekends back, and I've got another one coming up in another week. And I would encourage anyone who has purchased a pistol and has not had any real training to go with it to enroll for one of our weekend-long events. As you said earlier, it's just about the best value in training that money can buy out there.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I greatly appreciate your time.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, we were going to do this at the interannual meeting, and schedules just kind of got jumbled around. I appreciate you sticking with us through all that, and thank you for everything that you're doing with the program. Do you want to announce like the website so people can go on there and find some shoots?
Yeah, appleseedinfo.org. Get on there, find an event, map of the United States, show up, click on your state, and you'll get the full schedule.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much, and we'll see you guys on the range sometime.
Thank you so much.
Stay safe.
See you all
guys.
on the line.
There's lots of sponsors that make this show possible, like Mantis, Next Level Training, Blake Henry, like
XS Sites.
Check them out and give them your business.
Meet the Pressers is brought to you by Mantis. Mantis X helps shooters suck less. Next Level Training. Makers of CERT training products. Henry Repeating Arms. Made in America or not made at all. XS Sights. Fast sights in any light. Meet the Pressers is also brought to you by these fine companies, shows, organizations, and our Patreon members. Thank you.
Thanks for watching the show.
make sure you like, subscribe, share, and click that little bell thingy so you know when the next episode's coming out. Support us on Patreon. Come to one of our classes. Host us to come to you and do one of our classes at your location.
And until next time,
Adieu.
Thank you for watching Meet the Pressers.